Your faith, which is an interesting concept. It was published back in 2008. It's an easy read, by the way, if any of you would like to read that. But Mike Silva is an author, obviously, and a preacher and a consultant. And he reminds us that every time we find our seat on a commercial airliner, something very, very important is going on up in the cockpit of that. And obviously, I hope something important is going on when I'm on that airplane. But if you were inside the cockpit of, anybody flown Frontier Airlines? Yeah, I've flown them a few times. Just before liftoff, and Bill, you may be able to help verify that Mr. Silva is right, but he says just before liftoff, you could hear the co-pilot or the captain call out V1, and which, with respect to the liftoff, means the point of no return. As he describes it, that you're going down the runway and you've got to generate, as the plane accelerates toward the end of the runway, the pilot must decide if the plane is moving fast enough to lift off. And if not, he must abort that flight. And that speed, that liftoff speed is determined by pre-flight based on, factors like air pressure, weight, and temperature, and speed of the wind, how many heavy passengers are on there, a lot of different, variables go into that.
Weight and balance is very
important.
Very
so
important.
The pilot holds the throttle as the plane approaches the V1 speed so that takeoff can be avoided if something is going wrong with that flight. However, after the V1, the plane must take off. Now, here's my point. As Christians, and Silva purports and says, we also have a V1 commitment. Okay? Once we've placed our faith in Jesus Christ alone, we've reached the point of no return, really. And we need to adjust our sights and apply the throttle and take off. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to get across here. So with that concept in mind, and there's no space in your notes for this, but I thought I'd give you this little bit of boring background. There's an interesting set of statistics that seem to indicate that many Christians fail to take off. A failure to launch, as they say. And I want to look at that for just a few minutes by introduction. Consider, for example, the commitment of Christians in our country to gather, to meet here as we are this morning. That is to regularly obey God's word when it comes to coming together on the Lord's day to worship and fellowship and encourage one another together around His word. Now, these statistics I'm going to give you are interesting to me because I'm interested in this kind of stuff, but it may not be for you. But here's some data, again, not in your notes. According to those who study such things, people who attend church on a, quote, regular basis, they say they attend church on a regular basis, actually attend a worship service about 1.4 Sundays of any given month. Now, this may not apply to us here, and I don't think it applies here to Thomas Terrace, but on average across the United States of the 360,000 Protestant churches around the United States. and that's those who consider themselves regular attenders. That's 30% of the time. So over the 52 weeks of a given year, regular attenders come through the doors about 18 times per year on average. So with that in mind, let me give you what I think are 7 startling facts about this. I know this can be boring, but I'm doing this for several purposes. One is to alert you, and one, I hope, to motivate you to reach out to those all around you that are not in church. You know, one of the easiest things in the world is to invite somebody to come to church. You know, you may not feel like you're up to giving them the full gospel. If you aren't, call Norma, she will. She'll chase them down the street, and has. Even the Mormons aboard a house. Which is a good thing.
They've been warned.
Yeah. So but you know, I want to encourage all of us, you know, to be on the alert. Drop a tract. Invite somebody over for coffee. By the way, have you been to Thomas Terrace? Or wherever you're attending? You know, to see if we can't break this kind of stat. So let me give you quickly seven I think, startling facts. Again, I find it startling that number one, less than 20% of the general population of Americans regularly attend church, meaning regularly now, remember that means 1.4 to 2 times a month. That's regular attendance. Perhaps, as you've seen, and some national pollsters will put that number at 40%, but it's actually just about half of that by recent survey. The fact that, back up, I want you to see the whole halo. You ever heard of the halo effect? You know what that means? The halo effect occurs when you're asked a question that you really wish you had done better than you have done. So you tend to exaggerate what you've actually done. And that's your halo. All right? Husband and wives, take note of this. There's a halo effect in life.
I thought it was called evangelistically speaking.
Evangelistically. That's another way of saying the same thing. Yeah.
I'm joking.
And truth be told, that's what people do when they're asked about their church attendance. You know, it's actually only about 20% who go 1.4 Sundays or better. Secondly, well, you're getting them all in one time. The American church attendance is declining. It's been steadily declining in the United States now, not around the world, but in the United States, it's been declining for the last 40 years. In fact, the Southern Baptists reported that 2016, last year, was the lowest attendance rate they've had in 25 years. And the Southern Baptist Convention, whether you know it or not, is the largest Protestant denomination that we have going. Only in one state of the Union is outpacing the rate of population growth and in terms of church attendance, and that's Hawaii. And I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's just too expensive to live there, so it's a lot of tourists. But those that do live there attend church, I guess, thanking God for the tourists. I don't know. Mid-sized churches are shrinking. That is, the smallest and the largest churches are the only ones that are growing. Now, why would that be? Why would the smaller churches be growing?
Numbers are low, so they have to go up.
Well, that's certainly a point, yeah. In part, that's an underlying premise. When you have a new start, you know, you've got those that are really excited about the church and they're out pounding on doors and inviting people to come because I don't want to sit here with just 3 of us.
Right.
You know, we'll have 5 or 6 or 10. Now, the larger churches are growing. Why?
Because you get lost in the crowd there.
Get lost in the crowd, that's certainly a reason.
They're usually very social.
Yeah, oftentimes they're a full-service station. And also, a lot of the medium churches, people get ticked because the pastor didn't say hello to them that morning. And they go to a larger church.
More exciting.
More excitement, that sort of thing. So, but mid-sized churches, that is those that are around the 100 to 300, which is sort of where we are here, are getting steadily smaller. And actually, the average size of the Protestant church in the United States, as far as membership, is today is around 124. Of that 360,000,
Wow.
the average is about 124, and attendance is usually around about 102, the latest one. Sunday school, what we're doing right now, is about 81 or 82, something like that, on average. Yes, ma'am.
But for today, we have our highest attendance since June 11th. Highest attendance in 3 months in the class.
We, in the class, okay. That's because I told everybody you were giving them $5 bills.
They're gonna be disappointed.
And don't let me see it because I'll cry.
Would that be because we have good pastors who stepping on toes and they don't like being stepped on, and so we?
Oh, I think there's a lot of that, sure, sure. Oh, absolutely. We're in an age of entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
We really are. I want the greatest music, the biggest acts, the biggest names, bless me if you can.
You all know I work for a Presbyterian church, and Pastor was saying last week, he had preached a really biblical sermon, and he said he got more people to dislike what he had spoke on, and he is really having a hard time.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a shame because people are so against what they don't want to hear.
Sure.
So,
Just tickle me,
yeah,
and I'll make a contribution as it goes.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Itching ears, I believe it.
Itching ears, yeah. Number 5, established older churches are declining. Those between 40 to 190 years old are on average declining. And I think for obvious reasons, they grow out of favor and what have you. Number 6, increase in church growth is only 1/4 of population growth in the United States. Now, what is that all leading to? And here's something I want you to really focus on, if you would please. In 2050, if the trend continues, the percentage of U.S. population regularly attending church will be half of what it is today, 20% today, 10-11% in 37 or 33 years. In other words, in 33 years, only 1 in 10 persons in the United States will attend church of any sort of regular fashion, if at all. Now, you could say, well, that'll keep the riffraff out. It certainly will. But I say all of this, again, if you don't mind my being didactic about this sort of thing. But if you and I don't do something, that's going to happen, and it's perhaps going to accelerate. Yes?
I have to put a plug in here again for this lifestyle evangelism, a free seminar that's coming to Tree of Life next Saturday morning. And it's free of charge. You just go online at Journey FM and register. And no intimidation. They come with no role playing, no pressure, but this gentleman evangelist is just going to share. And he said he's one of the worst at doing this, but God has given him success in his style of relating to people just in your everyday life and being a witness. So several of us are going, and you can still go online at Journey FM and register, and it doesn't cost you anything.
And when is this?
It's from 8 till noon next Saturday, the 23rd of September.
All right. Now, I think, and again, I hope I haven't bored you with this kind of thing, but it's something that is heavy on my heart. That, again, I don't think this obviously applies to Thomas Terrace or to this class, for example, but these are true statistics. And this is where the Church of Jesus Christ in the United States is going unless you and me and others do something about it.
I
Yes.
noticed after church, when we are heading out, we usually stop and get something to eat. And I told Larry a couple of times, you look at these shopping centers, as you get on Warren Road, they're packed with cars. Can you imagine what it'd be like if those cars were in church instead of what they're doing?
But we're having problems even keeping our young people who have been raised in church.
In church. Right.
They go off to college.
Yeah, then they're
For a big
not.
part, they forget church.
Well, that's a sore point of opinion.
Right.
Why?
We don't offer classes.
We don't offer anything that is relevant.
They're like at this moment.
That's right. You're absolutely right, I think.
What did she say? I didn't.
That we.
I said we don't offer anything even here at this church for college students to be involved and/or appealing to them.
That's right.
In
And most
this
churches
time of their
don't. If
life.
you go
Sure.
through the churches, most churches don't have that. Well, they stop at high school, but they don't do college. Very few churches do that.
I totally agree.
But this
Michelle
must be-
is a perfect example. I mean, she loves this church, but she just felt like she wasn't being fed. She goes to Blue Ridge because they have a whole lot of young people for the college kids.
Well, I say shame on us and praise God for Blue Ridge.
What he charged.
That is seeking to reach. Yeah, I think it's a big, big issue, and you're flat out right. That's one of the biggest areas. Now, just to be fair, if you do analysis on some of this, I have to some degree. When they get about 30 or so, there is some that come back to church for one reason or another.
Well, then you still need another class even that appeals to the young marrieds and the ones who've got young kids that are seeking some kind of, they want affirmation of marriage and all those things that at that time in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different stages of life that we have to address,
Sure.
that we all go through.
And there are different sets of issues that
Exactly.
need to be faced. But I don't really want to be a prophet of doom
Right.
and gloom here. But I think it ought to be rather obvious that there's a whole lot of Christians who are having trouble taking off, is the point that I want to make. That as we know Christ, then we are to take off, if you will. Yes?
You know, and one of the reasons for that is that we're not working with these new Christians to get them involved. And I think that's the case in a lot of churches, not just, in all of them, because, you become a Christian, you accept the Lord, but then what do I do?
Right.
Somebody needs to show them, talk to them and explain to them, when we accept the Lord, we are, as I often said, we're a salesman for Jesus, right then and there, whether we like it or not. But if you don't know how to do it,
Certainly.
we're in trouble.
I certainly think that that's true, but I do want to, on a bit of counterbalance, bring up an issue that I'm really not equipped to know how to deal with. But there is a degree of public apathy that is amazing. That there people just don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be called. They don't want to be pursued. They don't want to study the Bible. They don't have time for that. And it's not that they're necessarily again, but they're just not for. And so how to deal with that, to get them into those classes if they were being offered. Now, I think there's got to be a cultural relevance. I understand now that you all will be having a staff meeting, a staff retreat sometime soon. Pastor was telling me, I rode up to Charlottesville, so I know every secret in the world.
Please don't tell it.
No, I'm not. I'm not. You are safe with me.
Thank you.
But how do you deal with apathy? How do you approach? How do you attract? How do you communicate that that taking off is a good thing for someone and is relevant to their life? Yes, Bill.
in an affluent society like where we live, fewer and fewer people see a need in their life for God. When some type of disaster happens, people like 9/11, there was an uptick for a short period of time in church attendance, but that never really caught on as a revival, and within 6 months it had disappeared.
Some people didn't last for 1 week.
Yeah. Right.
Well, like, one of my favorite stories is I've always, every year, when I was attending it live 3, 4, 5 times a week, that from January 2nd through February 15th,